it was a good year. We will keep that year in memory. Hi everyone! Today I want to share with you what is possibly the biggest gardening failure I've had this year. I'm thinking I always share with you the pretty stuff, everything that goes really well, like garden tours and all the beautiful blooms, but sometimes things don't go to plan, and this was one of them. As you may know, we have an allotment. That's a space that's outside of our garden where we grow vegetables. Over the years, I've tried a lot of different crops, but really my favorite to grow, aside from rhubarb, are squashes. I love courgettes, of course, they produce a ton, but also pumpkins because they are perfect, of course, to decorate with. Also, they store for a really long time, so you have time to pace yourself and not have to eat your whole crop at once.
The growing season started pretty early for us. Over winter, we haven't been keeping up a lot with the space, so that means weeds have been growing, the grass is really long, and it's really time for a good cleanup. That's also a great time to add compost or manure to your space to make sure it's recharged with nutrients for the new growing season.
Go on, push.
Once the grass was cut short and the soil cleaned off as much as possible, it was time to cover it. So we picked the thickest, darkest tarp that we could to block off sunlight and prevent weeds from growing, but also to kill off whatever was still alive. We cut it to size and made sure to secure it with anything we had on hand. Pallets, pieces of wood, bricks, just so that in case of winds, it wouldn't go fly off everywhere. We repeated that process for the entire growing space that we wanted to reuse for the following year, and then it's just a waiting game. In about 3 months' time, the ground should be ready to plant.
Smells good, huh? The garden smells good, no? Time for more seed sowing today. I'm really excited. This time I'm going to focus efforts on the vegetable garden. Let's have a look in the seed box. To say this became quite a bit of a mess, so hopefully we can find everything I want to start today. This is going to be mostly squashes, so pumpkins and courgettes. I just love them. Turn pumpkins for Halloween, they're going to be perfect for carving. They get absolutely massive. I think this is a variety that you find at the supermarket, so it will be fun to try. Yeah, you can tell, I think this year I have something for summer squash. I also got this little squash. I really love the lime green. I think it's going to be really nice as well. Small orange pumpkins, super cute. Okay, now stop. I am closing the seed box. So squashes and pumpkins are this really good trade-off between high productivity, a lot of enjoyment, really good storage, and also, for now, they've been left alone mostly. So I've organized myself a little bit better. I have a little pile with my courgettes. I have 3 different types. I have then summer squashes, which are kind of a bit in between because you can harvest them from July all the way to October. So those are kind of a hybrid between courgettes and pumpkins. I have 3 varieties. Really cute. Then I have the little squash piles. There's 3 varieties. Then I have the ornamental pile, a couple of different bits that I'm going to grow specifically for decorating. Those are not edible. Then I have the corn pile, just 2 varieties this year, and then this huge pile where I have 2 things that are more geared again towards decorating. I guess this one could be in the ornamental section, but because it produces large fruits, I'm going to treat it a bit differently, this one. And then all the rest of our bigger and smaller squashes. Let's sow all of this. So, for sowing, you have to decide already how many plants you want. This is what squash seeds look like, those courgettes specifically, and then they can vary in size depending on the size of the fruit.
Here I'm putting 2 seeds per cell because I want to start 2 plants, and I'll transplant them in their individual pots later.
The seed has a pointy side and it goes up. Planting depth typically for the seeds is about 1.5 to 2 centimeter deep. So all you have to do is push it down to the desired depth. Take a moment. How gorgeous this is. And you give this a good water, protect from frost and from slugs. About a month and a half ago, we put down this thick black plastic tarp to block out the sunlight and naturally kill off any weeds. I'm saying any, but there was a lot of weeds. We had let go of the space a little bit over the winter. So applying this is helping us remove all of that. We secured it really nicely because we've had a lot of wind, and today is kind of windy as well. And now we're going to check on the progress. I want to show you partway through the weed kill process, which takes about 3 months, what it looks like. As I mentioned, it's not going to be ready just yet. We need to wait a few more weeks, but ooh, really good example. So those were all the weeds we covered, and you can see how they grew white from the lack of sunlight and also leggy. And you can tell there's still some green, they're still alive. Oh, this is actually some parsnips we didn't harvest. But those are weeds. And you know, a few more weeks, another 2 months, I think in June we'll be ready to remove the tarp and ready for the planting.
While the weeds are dying off at the allotment, in our back garden, the seeds that we sowed a little over a month ago are now germinating. It feels like it took longer this year. I'm not sure if it's because we had a cold spring or whatever the reason is, but
I wanted to show you quickly the different stages of the pumpkins germinating. So you can see here, as soon as the seed starts germinating, we can see just a little bit of green. And very quickly, we have our first leaves that appear. And then, very exciting, can you see in the middle? This is the first true leaf, the one that's going to resemble the final leaves of the plant. And then it starts growing and another appears. And another really healthy seedling. This one is Pâtisson Blanc with 3 true leaves, and you can see here we still have the first set of leaves that appear and sustain the seed. And then the plants continue growing, and you can see here at some point the first leaves are just going to die off, and that's totally normal. And this is about the size where I would plant it out at the allotment. When we have nice healthy roots at the bottom and 3 very strong true leaves. What I found really interesting is that each variety has a really different leaf shape and veining and color. They're all slightly different. This one has a little bit of marbling, for example. This one is more simple. This is so fun. Look, when the seed starts, the little seed pod is just pushed away and has opened, and it's just kicked away.
we planted out everyone about mid-June at the allotment, and things were going pretty well from there.
forget that this year, somehow, the deers in the neighborhood developed a taste for young and tender fruit. It was horrible. Like when we came back from holidays and I went to check on the garden in August, where I would have expected a lot of fruits to be underway and, you know, kind of like be at peak production, everything had been snacked on, but ravaged, like to the bone. I didn't get one courgette plant out of the, I don't even know, like I'll try to pop a count if I manage to find that in my records, but possibly more than 10 plants, which should have been plenty, you know, considering any pest pressure we could have gotten. I got nothing. It was really heartbreaking to go, be ready for the harvest. Well, not for the harvest, but at least, you know, to pick up a few things and to check on progress and see that there was nothing. So then maybe you could say at that point, I should have, you know, changed something, protected, put up protection, try to do something, but it's a really big plot. And I didn't have the supplies and I didn't take time. And I was thinking, okay, now it's going to be fine. You know, they snacked on a little bit and then whatever's, you know, still growing, because they were still at this time some young fruits forming that hadn't been touched, but you could see that, you know, there had been many more. And I thought, okay, you know, maybe that's going to be okay. You know, I don't have the budget. I don't have the time to come here and like build a whole fence around the garden. Well, maybe I should have. Basically, the massacre continued. And in September, when I came again, and I literally only got 3 pumpkins. I kid you not, like 3 pumpkins out of the 40 plus plants that I had planted there. I harvested a few pumpkins. I didn't film anything because it was too sad. I got 2 mini jack-o'-lanterns. Those were this beautiful orange. They're great for carving and for Halloween. So this was the first one. This is number 2. There, I got those 2 little jack-o'-lantern. They're a bit smaller than what I would have wanted, but they are here, so that's great. Then I have 1 mini purple prince squash that survived. I love this pale blue. I've been growing it for the past few years. This year we only have this 1 specimen surviving. Ooh. And I also got this. No idea what this is. This is actually a plant that I found in my compost heap and then planted out again in the pumpkin field. It's a huge marrow, and this is definitely several kilos. And it survived the deers. And that is it. At least there are 4, mind you, because that could have been worse. I don't know, that could have been worse. We can still decorate with them. I'll probably pop them on the front porch and just, you know, enjoy them there. If you're harvesting yours soon, probably. I harvested mine a bit early because on top of deers, there's a lot of slugs, there's a lot of ants, so there's always, you know, a risk that, you know, they could have gone. So I thought, okay, I see them now, I'm going to harvest them. But typically, you want to make sure that the skin is has toughened, so it means the pumpkin is ready. Also, normally you want this stalk here to be a bit brown. And I mean, generally you want them to have the color that they should be. So for example, if you have an orange pumpkin, it has to be orange and not green, things like that. But you can also harvest them early and leave them to cure for a little while. Even if you harvest early, that's fine. Just leave them to cure as you would normally do, so for a couple of weeks. So try to brush off any dirt or soil. I typically wipe them with antibacterial wipes just to make sure I remove as much bacteria as possible, and that does prolong storage. Also, make sure you keep the stems attached because this is also going to help you store them for longer. And then if you store them in a cool, dark, dry place, you can keep them for months. Some varieties store better than others, but at least you can get a few months out of a few. This is why I really love that crop, because once you harvest, you can decorate with it and then you can eat them. Well, for the ones that are edible, because there are also a lot of ornamentals. But that's it. Got those four pumpkins. Anyway, I thought I would share this with you just to say it's okay, not everything works perfectly all the time. So I'll either end up going to a pumpkin patch or just will be happy with those 4 pumpkins and maybe just get 2 for carving because I really love carving pumpkins. So either we'll use the 2 small ones or we'll get some from the store. I don't know. Either way, the tradition of carving pumpkins will happen this year regardless. I was thinking maybe we could set those pumpkins in a crate because there's only 4 at the front of the house. Let's go do that. Last year, actually, we've had the most epic pumpkin harvest. If you're in the mood to see more pumpkins, definitely check out my harvest video from last year. It was a good year. We will keep that year in memory. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time. Bye!